What's going on, everybody? This is Donnie coming to you from Worth County, Georgia. Today, we're going to experience the debate between the local and federal candidates for the position of Congress and local positions. So, while we're here in Worth County, make sure y'all tune in here at Brotags Media so we can ensure that you get the information you need for voting. Early voting starts Monday, April 27th, so make sure you are informed and make sure you know who the candidates are so you can have an informed vote. All right, thank you. Let's get to the program. See you on the other side.
Brotags Media. Brotags Media. Brotags Media.
We are going to begin, and we are going to begin with the introduction of our speakers. I don't know if everyone has a flyer. If you want one, they are available to you. And if you'll notice on your flyer, the candidates are as listed. Justin Lucas, a member of the Worth County School Board, member of the 8th District Congress candidate. We have Dr. Kelly Esty, 8th District Congress candidate. Dr. Sadia Powell, Worth County Board of Education, District 1 candidate. Johnny Blake, educator, Worth County Board of Education, District 1 candidate. After the candidates have spoken, we will have questions. And then, of course, our vice vegetarian meeting today, Dr. Bird, with their final remarks and comments. We do have a photographer roaming around that's going to be snapping and giving us a play-by-play when we are done with all of this. I want to welcome you guys for coming out. We do appreciate your presence, and we hope that it is effective. And that not only will you bring your voice to the election process, you will spread the word, because it is absolutely time that we stand and exercise our privilege to vote. Amen. We are going to ask if Minister Lucas, Pastor Lucas, will come forth, present himself with the introduction and his.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All right. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us on today. Thank all of you that made this possible on today. If there's ever been a time to get out and exercise your right to vote, time is now. We're living in a world where it seems so important and so, man, I'm telling you, we live in a world that is going downhill. I currently serve on the Worth County School Board of Education. I've served there the last 4 years as your Worth County School Board representative, the office that Dr. Powell and Mr. Johnny Blake are running for now. I hold that office now. They asked me, Lucas, why jump from the school board to Congress? My answer was simple. Why not? I saw a need. I saw people's voices not being heard. I saw people being silent when they should be speaking. Now, I promised myself when I started this campaign, there was one thing Lucas would not do. My integrity would not be questioned. I will not run a slander campaign. I will not bash anyone. I told Dr. Estes we went Cordeal. One of us got to win. And if he bashed me and I bash him, why am I going to get my supporters to support him, and why will he get his supporters to support me? So every time we see each other, we speak and we have a conversation. That is what it's all about. Not the world we're living in now where people are attacking each other left and right. Since being on the Worth County School Board, when I first got there 4 years ago, our graduation rate was down to 72-point-something%. We're now at a 93% in graduation rate. Now, that's awesome. That is awesome. We built. Now, if you have questions for me at the end, I'll let you know. We built a brand new field house. Those of you that are from Worth County, that field house was built in the 50s. Built in the 50s. We reconstructed that. We built a brand new baseball and softball facility, no cost. We didn't use any taxpayer money. What we did was we saved and we budgeted correctly. I said I like to say this. Our test scores are up. We just got recognized by the state superintendent in math at the middle school. That speaks volume on our educators. What I'm running for, I've seen too much far left, too much far right. We are in a political crisis right now. That's what we're in. One thing you can bet your bottom dollar on with Justin Lucas. I'm not going to back down from a fight. I'm not afraid of a fight. I'm going to stand and I'm going to speak up for the people that have elected me. Not just for the people that vote me in. Once elected, I won't be just the Democrats Congressman. I'll be the Republican Congressman. I'll be the white Congressman, the black folk Congressman, everybody Congressman. But I want to make sure we're being treated fairly. I want to make sure our rights are being. Right now, they're trying to pass a law where if you go to the poll, you got to have so much, you got to have a passport. Come on. My grandmother right now is fighting to make sure she have enough money to pay. If it weren't for us, her grandchildren, pay for her medicine, get gas in her car. She get a check every month. But we need adequate health care. Health care should not be a privilege. It should be a necessity for everyone, every Georgian that is in here today. Listen, I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your prayers. They tell me all the time, Luca, you know, you're a preacher and this, that. I'm going to take the Lord with me everywhere I go. I will not ever forget that. I don't care what happens in life. However, I do not support the funding of ICE. I don't, y'all. Now listen, for what they're supposed to do, let them do their job. But to be one man's personal army, that's an issue we have. And so listen, I want to be your voice right here in rural Georgia. I grew up right here. I was born and raised right here in Worth County, right there on Anderson City on Highway 33 South. My uncle played football here for many years, went to state, Robert Toomer. I was born and raised here. I know your issues. I know our farmers need adequate help. I know the need. Let me help you. Let me be the voice I've been for you while on the school board. Listen, my wife is here with me today, my little beautiful baby. I thank God for my wife, who's my prayer warrior, my prayer partner. Amen. She is my steak by the lake. All right, then now. But I love my wife, and I thank each and every one of you. I'm not new to the community. I've always been an activist for the community. My brother is here who serves on the city council board, Mr. Nakeem Hamilton. He's here with us today. So we're not new to politics. Now, do I know everything? No, sir, no, ma'am, I do not. Will I learn everything I can learn once in this office? Absolutely, I will. I promise you that. So listen, thank you all so much. I appreciate each and every one of you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Now, those of you that know Maisha Gaines, y'all know Darahi. Darahi had called me 4 times. I got to make sure I'm at the Darahi event today. It started at 4 o'clock, so if I step out, I apologize. But it's an autism awareness event that they're hosting there. And I promised I would be there, so I'll be here as long as I can. Thank you all. My phone number is on the pamphlets that you have. If you all need anything, feel free to call my phone. Thank you so much.
How y'all doing today?
Right.
Listen. Let me ask y'all about these gas prices. How are we doing on the gas prices right now? Okay. All right. So one of the reasons why I'm running is because of that. So I was born and raised in Magnolia, Mississippi. I came from a very rural area of Mississippi. Matter of fact, when we were driving here, I saw a dirt road on the way into town. And I was like, I grew up on a dirt road. So, and also doing the farming, basically growing up on working on my uncle's farm. And also I worked on an older white gentleman's farm as well too, and sold watermelons whenever I needed money. So I'm country. So, and I understand the rural areas. So like I said, I'm from Mississippi. When I was in school, I was a very curious child. So I always asked questions. My mom my mom was a single mother, so anytime I asked her a lot of intellectual questions, she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, so I have to go to the library and find the answer. So I spent half of the time when I was a child in the library learning. So from that, I graduated high school as a salutatorian. After that, people thought I was gonna go to college. I did not. I went to the military and I studied nuclear power. And I learned there, because you have to go in as an E3 and you have to learn things like chemistry, heat transfer, fluid, reactive principles. So a lot of hard stuff. And basically what I learned from there is how to discipline, because I didn't want to choose a career at 16 that I would hate at 40. And so one of those things was me is like, you know what, let me kind of go out and discover, run around the country, maybe run around the world, see a couple of different things, and then say, hey, then I'll choose what I want, what road that I want to do. But the military gave me that. After that, I went and finished my bachelor's and my master's right after that, and I went on to work in finance. And so working in finance during the Great Financial Recession taught me that people's lives are very fragile. And especially when you're in a lot of these rural areas, because what happens is, as taxes are cut and finance are withdrawn, the rural areas are hurt first and the most, because they see a lot of investment going out of their community when taxes are cut. And I saw that during the entire Great Financial Recession, working for JP Morgan and also E-Trade Financial, just learning through that. So after that, I got my doctorate in public policy, which while I was working with that, I did do a lot of community work. So one of the places I was on was Georgia Equality. So with that, we stopped a lot of legislation that would have caused a lot of discrimination in the state. And so working with the State House, working with my congressman and also the governor, we had to work with each of those entities to stop people from allowing discrimination into the state. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied. But after that, while I was doing that as well, I was also working on the city of South Fulton. So that was a city where I was on the Fulton County Zoning Board, and we had an issue. We had an issue where the neighboring city was annexing land because we were unincorporated. So they were annexing land, waiting a year, and then turning that land into a warehouse. And it was right next to some of our really nice neighborhoods. And so in order to stop that, we had to create the city of South Fulton. And it was to prevent a lot of our property values from slumping because of the warehouses. And so today, and this was about 10 years ago that the city was created in 2017, along with Stonecrest. But today that city is thriving. It is 113,000 people with a budget of $431 million. And that was me working with our governor, our state legislature, our county leaders, and also a lot of our local leaders and local mayors of our surrounding city areas, so that we establish ourselves as one of the largest cities in the state of Georgia. So, and that is the experience that I'm bringing to you. So a lot of people ask me, why you choose this particular district? Well, because it reminds me of home. And also, I want to bring what I've learned in Atlanta and also along my travels around the country to this particular district. I think that it's important right now, especially as we face the next 250 years of our existence, because the Congress right now is not doing its job. You have to send people who are going to be strategic, intelligent, but also that has the fire to fight. And so if we are sending the people that we have been sending, then we're going to keep ending up in the same situation that we are now. People like Austin Scott, who has ran in lockstep with the current president. And at the end of the day, Donald Trump is leading us off a cliff. So at some point, he's going to have to be impeached and removed. And that is one of the things that I will be the first to throw the gauntlet on. Because if we keep Donald Trump in office, we're going to get into more wars, we're going to spend more money we don't have, we're going to print more money we don't have, and that is going to keep costs going up. Because that's why we keep getting these inflationary spikes, because we're printing money to go to war. And we're also taking investment out of your areas to do so. This is why whenever you're running around town, you see a lot of dilapidated properties because you don't have any local resources to take care of those things because we're cutting taxes. One of the biggest things that I would love to do for the actual state and also District 8 would be the Georgia Interstate Train. And that's going to be a comprehensive state plan of transportation, which means that we can connect all of our cities to each other, but also allow a lot of investment to divert away from our larger cities and more to some of the rural areas, if you guys want it. Because some rural areas may not want that kind of development. But I know a lot of people they want their cities to grow so they can create more tax revenue locally. And so that's what I want to bring to the district as well. And also for the congressional offices. I'd rather turn those into a voter engagement center so that we're doing a couple of things. We're looking for local candidates, but we're also teaching people civics, health, and also community stuff so that when people need to be educated, they can come to the center and find out who their state representatives are, what they're voting on, understanding some of those questions that end up on our ballots, because sometimes that language can be very confusing. And I think there needs to be a person in the community that can explain those things effectively so that people can go in knowing what they're voting for. And so that's one of the commitments that I have to youth from me to the district is that voter engagement center. So, but other than that, I will be here for any questions. And thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me down to Worth County. I appreciate you.
Hello, all.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. I wish more people would come and be aware. I need y'all to stay woke of what's going on in our community. Okay, I am running for school board, District 1. My name is Dr. Sadia Powell. But before I give you all my credentials to help you see that I'm the person to vote for, I want to let you know that I'm a mother first. Okay? I'm a mother of 2 children. Both of them graduated from Worth County High School. My son is right there. Stand up, son. He graduated in 2015, and I have a daughter who graduated in 2010. Both of them are successful. He is a professional UPS driver, and my daughter is a therapist in Lawrenceville. So both of them are doing extremely well. Now, I don't want you to think that it was just me that made sure that they were fine. It took a village, and it takes a village now. And so I want y'all to understand that and let me be clear. It takes God first, then the village. But it takes love and support from the family. And so I want to make sure that I tell you that I didn't do it by myself. Also, I was a school, what am I trying to say? I worked in the school system for 33 years. And so I was a special ed teacher. And after a special ed teacher, I became a school counselor. So I was a special ed teacher for 14 years, a school counselor for 19 years. So I'm very savvy in the education field. So I feel like God gives everybody a talent, a gift. And my gift is to give service, to help my community. And how I do that, I did that as a school counselor, I did it as a special ed teacher. I even tell y'all a little story. When I was in the church, well, I'm in the church now, but when I saw that the need for somebody to do sign language, it was a little boy that was struggling with sign language. So I learned how to do sign language so I can give him the sermon. So that's how I try to help with my service. So whoever needs the service, I try to give back and give them that service. Now, I retired 33 years, but God said, just like in Joshua 13:1, he said, when Joshua was old and was well advanced in years, the Lord said to him, you are old and there is still more work to be done. That hit me like he was talking to me. But it says, when Sadio was old and well aged, well advanced in years, the Lord said to her, you are old, but there is still much work to be done. So I can't quit. I can't quit because I'm retired. I see a need. I know the power of education because, listen, I'm from the project. And now I live in a 5-bedroom home. I know the power of education. I came up in the community in District 1. I know what our kids need. I know when the parents does not know, they need somebody to be a voice. I can be that voice for them because I understand that maybe they don't understand what their children need. I had a parent to come to me and she said her child was, they were going to keep her child back because her child didn't know how to read. So I asked her, I said, well, this was March, so I said, you got until May. I said, have you read with your child to see if your child knew how to read? And she said, well, he's smart. I said, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, could your child read? And she said, well, she started trying to fumble for words, but I'm like, listen, sit down with your child, make sure your child can read, or maybe I need to help that parent. Maybe she might not know how to read. So sometimes you have to give back a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give back. I'm going to give my service. I'm going to be a voice for the family. I'm going to be a voice especially for the students because I already did it. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I'm true to education. And I want you to understand, I got the highest degree that I could possibly attain because I'm true to education. That's it. Okay, so, and I'm saying vote for Sadia Power because education is a serious matter.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Johnny Blake, and I'm running for the Board of Education, Worth County Board of Education. I've been teaching for over 30 years. I was born and raised in Sylvester, Georgia. A family of 8. Born in the projects as well. Me and Sadia grew up together. Not a pot to piss in, a window to throw it out. We only had what our parents can give us. And our parents did the best that they could do. Because if your parents had more, you wouldn't be in the projects. Because you weren't qualified to be in there. I always wanted to help children, I always wanted to help people. Because without education, without people, what do you have? Nothing. People is the rock to education. Children. I own a business, Hey Johnny Blake, Health Education Youth. I've been featured on Dialogue with Carla Heath Sands, talking about children struggling to read, to write, to comprehend, to articulate, to being able to recall, and also helping the parents to be able to read and write, because how can the blind lead the blind? If the parents can't read or write, how can they help the children? I've been tutoring for 16, 17 years, ever since I had my business and everything. I help kids who are in need, kids that really need that one-on-one tutoring, whether it be math, reading, writing, science, whatever it may be. Because a lot of kids just need that one-on-one tutoring so they can intake and memorize the material and also comprehend the material. My agenda is to commit to strong schools, support quality education and resource for every student, making sure they have everything that they need. That's very important. A voice for the parents and teachers, working together to make sure they pass that Georgia milestone. And that's when tutoring come in. That's when the reading, that's when the writing. Because kids can read, but they might not comprehend what they read. And then you ask them questions, they can't recall. I've seen children come in not knowing the basics, not knowing nothing. And after a year or two, after learning under my tutelage, they know everything that they need to know. Because results tells everything. You can talk the talk, but you gotta walk the walk. Investing in our children's future, providing safer schools. You know we get those bomb threats. We need to do a better job of handling those situations. Because those situations are crucial. The time management, they're a waste of time when it comes to money, you know, because you have to have the first responders out there and waste the time and waste the money. So we need to do a better job as educators and as the Board of Education in terms of safety-wise. I've learned over the years, no matter how much education you get, never stop learning, because life never stops teaching. You can always learn something. No matter how much education you got, you still don't know everything. I hear, I listen, and I understand. I love children. This is my life. This is what I've been doing for years and years. I can go anywhere, children hollering and screaming my name. When you got a calling, you got to answer. You got to answer that calling. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. And children will tell you the truth. Adults will lie to you. They'll tell you one thing and do another. But the children is genuine. When they like it, they like it. And when they don't, they don't. My name is Johnny Blake, and I'm running for the Board of Education, Worth County Board of Education. Early vote starts tomorrow, which is the 27th. And the day of the election is May the 17th.
19.
The 19th, May the 19th, I'm sorry. And like I said, I've been knowing Sadia for a long time. We grew up together and everything. And I'm glad that she got all of her education. I'm proud of her. I always have been. Because life is what you make it. You don't put nothing in, you don't get nothing out. So I thank every one of y'all for coming out. I appreciate y'all. And God bless all y'all. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Any other candidates? Go ahead.
This goes to Mr. Lucas. My question is, healthcare. You know, it's like, bunch of people in the state of Georgia have lost their healthcare due to Trump administration, big ugly bill. Medicaid cut, rural hospitals being closed down. A lot of people have senior citizens in these homes, and they rely on those benefits from the federal government. What is your take on that? For Georgia?
Absolutely.
In the 8th district.
Absolutely. We are, again, to pass a bill that leaves so many Georgians without health care is simply ridiculous. You have to understand, I had a phone call with a lady the other day. Her aunt was put out of a nursing home because of the funding that she was getting monthly was nearly cut in half. So this bill took away funding for health care for people that really truly need it. I will stand to fight for united health care, universal health care for every Georgian, especially in the 8th district. That is my goal. I got a grandma. I have a sister and a brother. Their children are on Medicaid and Medicare. We have to make sure that this funding is available. If we got $1 trillion to spend on a war, that money could have went in health care, that money could have went in education, that money could have went anywhere else but where our The current president spent that money, and I don't say I didn't vote for it. So that's my take on that. I'm gonna fight for every Georgian to receive adequate health care and to make sure that they receive enough where they can go to the doctor, get their medicine, and things like that. So yes, sir.
So how I would approach that is to support repealing the big beautiful bill, but also you have to pressure your governors, right? Because they're the ones that are tasked with expanding Medicaid in your states. What we can do federally is that we can create a universal system where it's more like a universal Medicaid, where everybody can be part of it. And with all the people that's part of it, of course, it kind of pays for itself because of the massive amount of money that's going into it. But repealing the big beautiful bill, because that would basically refund the ACA, but it also would refund places with like Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, which was also cut in that bill. It was a bill that stripped away a lot of investment in places like the 8th Congressional District. And because now you're seeing your hospitals close, you're seeing a lot of your construction stop, you're seeing a lot of schools are starting to fight each other for funding in a lot of these areas. So that is because of what the Big Beautiful Bill has done. And it's basically sucking tax dollars out of all of our pockets and giving them to wealthy individuals and corporations. So if we keep allowing Republicans to win, we're going to keep going further and further into debt.
Go ahead.
This question is for all four. Here in South Georgia, one of the biggest problems that we have is food insecurity. We're talking about poverty here in South Georgia. Your resources that you have and your knowledge that you have, what would you do, or what do you think that you can do to help that combat that issue with food insecurity, especially with our kids? Because a lot of our kids, they go to school and on the weekend, they don't even know where their next meal is coming from. What would you do to help out with that?
So,
Go ahead.
So that's another attribute of the Big Beautiful Bill, because what it did was it took away a lot of investment from places like USAID or USAID. And a lot of your farmers, especially in South Georgia, have been affected by it because they've also been cut off from their customers, but also any subsidies that they were getting from the federal government. So when you stop subsidizing farmers or cut them off from their customers, mainly people in the United States and some abroad, then that causes food insecurities. So we have to basically ensure that people, because the rural areas are often cut off from investment. And so what you're seeing is all these food insecurity, of course, is another attribute of tax cuts. And so anytime that we're allowing our state or even our local areas to cut taxes, we start to get rid of that investment that can help things like food insecurities or healthcare or Medicaid. With that, what I would like to do is to see our local farmers provide more of the local food to these areas. Because I don't understand why you have a farm right next to your house, but you don't get any of the food from that farm. Because they're shipping it here, they're shipping it there, so we never see a whole lot of it from the beginning. So at some point we have to start to say, how do we create communities around our farms so that they're supporting our community, but we're also supporting them as well too. So it's more of a mutualistic relationship. Federally, because I don't have any power in the state, I have to work with our local leaders, anybody that's your county commissioners, your city folks, and your state folks. We have to have a coordinated response to these issues. And right now, our state is patchwork because we have Republicans here and we have Democrats here. And so with Republicans, they're the ones driving a lot of the poverty that we're seeing around our state. And people don't often connect those two. It's because they love to cut taxes so that they can give their rich buddies tax breaks, but they're stealing that tax break from you. And so, but we ignore that all the time because it takes time for it to catch up with people and people realize what's happening. And so, and by the time that it happens, they're long gone. But that's gonna be a coordinated effort between me and everybody under me to make sure that our kids are fed. That includes these folks up here, and also make sure that we are taking care of. We're bringing that village back to here. Kind of like what she said. It takes a village, and that's what's gonna have to happen because now we don't have any support from the federal government. Nothing. So.
Also, we have to pick back up Dr. Estes. We also have to understand this. If we're taking funding on a federal level and sending it somewhere else other than where it needs to be, if we want change, if we want to solve the poverty level, do it up. First of all, how are we going to raise gas prices and things like that and food prices and taxes and not raise minimum wage? That's an issue. I think we're still sitting at $7.25.
Georgia's at 5.15.
5.15. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we're already set up for failure in that way as well. So what we need to do federally is make sure that our local people, your city council, your school board members, your county commissioners, we need to know what they need in order to ensure that the after-school programs are funded, that the summer camps are funded, things like that. Don't allow. I have a few members that are members of my church. I have one member, she has been living in housing authority for over 20 years. 20 years now. But that's the mindset. I've been living here 20 years. What else can I do? I'm on a fixed income. I can't do anything else. However, if we were handled properly at that level that we're trying to get to, then we'll understand this right here. If I raise minimum wage, if I pay them what needs to be paid, maybe they could take care of their houses. However, you got a lot of food stamp fraud going on. You got a lot of that going on. I raised my son, my oldest son, mama went to the military. I took him on. Me, as a 27-year-old boy, went and applied for food stamp. I working at Little Caesars Pizza. They said, we'll give you $21 a month. I said, what in the world am I going to do with $21 a month? And that boy we eat. He would eat back then. So we have to make sure the programs that are set in place, let me backtrack. The programs that are set in place now, they are not for us. Let's just say that. So we have to meet people where they are, find out issues. One of my goals as your next congressman is to have an outreach program inside every office I have. If you call me on a Monday, I ain't be calling you back on a Tuesday. So that's what I'm saying. We've got to ensure that we do better in voting. You want to see change? Vote the way change is supposed to happen. Let's vote them out. Use your voice. Get us in. All right?
Okay, I want to address the hungry people on the weekend. We have a program called Hungry at Home, and the schools will go in, we send out paperwork to all the parents. They fill out the paperwork, and then every weekend, we make sure that the kids have food. It's canned goods, I always would put it in a tree, because sometimes the kids don't want the food. The other kids pick on the kids, so they won't get the food, and so they'll leave it on the bus or in the hallway. But then I would call that parent and ask them, do you still want the food? Because we can go back on the videos and see who's leaving the food. So I'll call the parent, hey, do you want the food? I'll bring it to you. And that's what I do.
All right.
I think the church should be more involved in terms of helping out the poor and the needy. We spend a lot of time in the church and everything in terms of paying our dues and tithes and stuff, and I think the church could get more involved with the hunger that we're facing. That's what I think.
Anyone else have? Go ahead.
Yes, this is for the school board members, especially, but I guess it could be for anybody. How will you use your experiences, your knowledge, your faculties, how will that help inform your work with the school board, and how will that help you to get proper resources for our school system?
Well, I think we have to find out what's the problem. First of all, what is the child dealing with? What is the child issue? Therefore, we can make sure the child gets the proper resources that he or she needs. And whether it be tutoring, because a lot of teachers get with parents and tell them that, hey, you know, your child can't keep up. Some kids are slow. Every child don't learn the same. You got some that learn quicker, you got some slow. And then you just need some that need that one-on-one so they can better understand what you're trying to convey to them.
Well, if a resource is needed, you need to, I say talk to the parents, see what's going on, see what they need. Whatever the parent tells you, sometimes you can even talk to the teachers, make sure that what's going on, if it coincides with what the parent is saying. So it just depends on the need, and that's how we address that. And I have a good relationship I already have a good relationship with the Board of Education. So I can always start with someone on the board and talk with them. That's right.
And a lot of parents, you're gonna have problems with some parents because they don't know who to turn to. So like I said, my business, Hey Johnny Blake Health Education Youth, I do after school tutoring. Any child that needs it, or a parent needs it, to be able to read and write. Because, like I said, how can you help your child when you can't read or write? You know, the blind leading the blind. So it's good to communicate with students, have a good relationship with kids, so you'll know what's going on. And you get them in there one-on-one and you talk to them. Because kids will be honest with you. You know if they trust you. They gotta trust you first.
Right. I got a question for Dr. Ed and Mr. Boogie. So earlier, Nick touched on evolving threats and the shootings and everything like that that's going on in school and how it's waste time and for money management.
Yeah.
So how would you guys try to help put in the necessary resources to prevent that?
So, again, I currently serve on the Worth County School Board of Education right now. Okay, let me just say that. You cannot stop a child, prevent a child from writing something in a book, saying what they're gonna do to a school. However, you can put the proper protocol in place, which we have done as a school system, put it in place. Our first priority is not to call parents. Our first priority is to remove those children. I got another school board member here from Daughter County. We remove those children out of the school. We send them to a neutral location. We get them away from danger. Now, law enforcement, city council here, they pay them. Anytime we call, they should be able to come to our school at any time. Our children's safety is what matters first. Safety first, not posting on Facebook, not calling and sending out a text, not going in Infinite Campus. At that moment, we're not concerned about that. What we are concerned about is your child, your grandchild, your child, and everybody else's children. So we can put things in place, but you never know what's going to happen. You never know. But I would rather stay ready versus having to get ready.
Right, man.
So we now we do have a program in place for our bomb threats on a local level. And we've done a great job. Now, did we have 3 bomb threats back to back? We did. We did. It was a copycat. One child wrote in the book. The other child copied that and wrote in the book. Then the other child called the school. So those are things that we dealt with. However, we handled them in a professional way. Just because we don't handle them how the parent think we should handle them, and I ain't running for school board anymore, but I'm gonna say this. We've got to understand, just because we don't do things the way you all say we should do them, don't mean we don't have the children's best interests at heart. And that's what we do. We have their interests at heart. Now, on a federal level, on a level that I'm running for now, we need to we could implement plans in place for schools, but there are already stuff in place, companies in place that'll come to your school, teach you how to evacuate, teach you how to do certain things. So if you already have a plan locally in place, stick to that plan. If it works, stick to it. Again, when it happened at the middle school, y'all may not know this. We bust all the children up, shipped them over to the high school. When y'all heard about it, it wasn't a child in the school. All of them were gone. They were at the high school. We had already had lunch ready for them. So that's my take on the bomb threat.
So I guess mine's going back to a little more nuanced. So a lot of this is the bomb threats. Because right now there's an attack on public schools. Let's be very clear. And this is all included in the attack on the public schools. And now they're trying to attack the funding for public schools because they're trying to get rid of your home or your property taxes. And so the ultimate goal of all of this is to make public schools unsafe so that you guys would choose differently. This is why they've kind of rolled out the voucher program so that you guys can choose differently. Now, the question becomes is federally, we have to basically put laws in place that says, you know, that certain guns shouldn't be in the hands of citizens. You know, I think that, you know, AR-15 should not be floating around on our streets, okay? That is part of the problem why we're having all of these issues in schools. And part of it is, again, we're trying to destroy the public school system because they don't want educated children. They want kids that are compliant and that do not think. That's the whole point of this. So, but for me, how we do this, we have to look at it from what are all the symptoms around why schools aren't safe? And so that is access to weapons. People who have problems have access to guns, and that causes a lot of issues in public spaces, including public schools. And so I think if we start to tackle those issues like access to guns, people who are background checks for people who have mental issues, you know, a lot of this stuff can take care of itself if we say, you know, we're going to cut this problem off before it becomes a problem. And so, you know, because we can also divert funds to our schools so that we're taking care of our children with more wraparound services like mental health, you know, schools, or adding more activities like band, art, technical stuff to schools so that kids have other means of doing other things as opposed to just sitting in a classroom and trying, you know, sitting in a classroom trying to be academic when that's not their interest. And I think a lot of kids are not interested in some of the disciplines that we offer them. They maybe want to do something more technical, they want to do some more AI, more computers. So I think there's some objectives if we fully fund our schools of how we can divert kids into doing other things as opposed to disrupting the classroom. And my thing is that if we keep politicizing education, which adults do that, instead we care about what our goals are as opposed to how the child comes out of this. And so if we start to focus on how the child comes out, I think it'll be a lot better results around when we come to education in school.
And mental health is so important. He talked about mental health. I was a school counselor for 19 years, and I understand that sometimes when they're lacking something, maybe at home, or they're not doing well in school, then you need to put mental health in place so that child can get what they need. So say for example, I have a lot of kids with suicidal thoughts that come to me with suicidal thoughts. And you have to really find out what the root of the problem is. And most of the time, it's home life. So when it's home life, sometimes you need to talk to the parent, let the parent know what's going on. And sometimes you might have to take the student out of the home. But and sometimes that's the case. We hate to do that, but hopefully that student will have someone else in the family that can take care of that student until we get that mother the resources they need to make sure that they can work with their child and have a healthy home for their child to live in.
Last question, Tupac Kelly.
This is to Dr. Powell and Mr. Blake.
Yes, sir.
I know it's both of you speaking on kids not being able to read.
Yes, sir.
It's not just the reading, it's everything that's in the school system that's being taught. And parents, they have the tendency that they cry, get away,
Exactly.
and won't ask for help. Have you all come up with anything that might make you go to the parent and talk to them? Maybe you might can encourage them to come in, sit some time aside to learn some things here.
Yes, Mr. Kelly, we talk to parents. I have them come in, when I was in the school system, I have them come in my office and I sit down with them to make sure that they understand what the service we can render for their students or the parents as well. Because when you're a school counselor, you're not a school counselor just for the students, you're a school counselor for the parents as well. And also, in the same token, with the special ed teacher. I was a special ed teacher for the parents. Whatever the parents' need is, we try to meet that need as well. So,
Well, is that something in the plan where you not just talk to them one time, but talk to them maybe on another couple of occasions, try to encourage them, and then if they don't apply to what you told them or anything, do you have a plan to
so that would start with the teacher. That wouldn't be the school board. So that would be the teacher.
within
Yeah,
the school board ought to come in after your teacher done did it and can't decide to come up with a plan?
well, if it's a need, yeah, the school board will come up with a policy for that. If it's a need for it, yeah.
Yeah, one last question, Mr. Powell.
I want to answer,
You want
I want to answer Mr. Kelly. I didn't get a chance to answer his questions. Mr. Kelly, I do those things right now. I do home visits. I check on the parents. I check on the children and everything. And checking on their progress, seeing whether or not they need help in different areas. Analyzing why they're not making any progress. And like I said, when I be elected to the board, and if it's God's will, I'll be there. I will continue to keep checking on children and making sure that they get the best education that they can possibly get. Because they might not get the best in the classroom. Because, as you all know, a lot of teachers, they just there for the paycheck. And a lot of them don't care
What
what,
school system you talking about?
and a lot of,
What school system you talking about?
I'm talking about the whole school system.
I'm talking about-
I'm talking about the whole school system, be honest with you. Some kids learn and some kids don't. And so I will be that bridge. If the child is slow in the classroom, cause let's be honest, all kids don't learn the same. They don't. Let's be honest, nobody's perfect. The kids do not learn the same.
Yeah, but that's not.
They do not learn the same.
They do not learn the same, but
No.
all kids can learn.
I did not
All
say they
kids
can't
can
learn.
learn.
I did not say that they cannot learn. That's why we have the one-on-one tutoring, just for the ones that slow and can't, to keep up. Everybody don't succeed. Let's be honest about that. They don't. If that's the case, everybody be successful.
Well, we
That's
have,
not.
kids have a
We'll make
504
it a debate
plan,
next go
they have an
round.
IEP, if they are if they're considered, if they have a low IQ, they have a
They have a
504.
I know they have an IEP plan,
Oh, no.
and they work on those areas that they weak in.
We'll debate that later.
I got one question,
Hold on, I'm sorry. Hold on, Mr. Robert. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I'm not only speaking as a parent, but also as an educator. Before I came home to teach these past 4 years, I taught in Dougherty County 15 years. And I have a different perspective that probably 95% of my colleagues don't have in that building. I've seen the other side. And what I mean by the other side, I taught in a system where it was 98%, to be honest with you, African American, not just students, but teachers, versus here in Worth County. My question is, and especially from a parent side and an educator side, where is the bridge, or where can a bridge be brought about to where there's the cultural imbalance? And what I mean by that, between the teachers and the parents. If you haven't been in another district or seen it from a different side, you won't know that certain teachers won't be able to just say, okay, this child is at home at a certain time until 6 o'clock. Our parents don't get home at 3:30 when the buses get home. There has to be a gap. There's a gap there between that cultural imbalance, and not just are the teachers helping, but who's helping the teachers understand the imbalance where it lies at with the parents. Everybody won't get home at 3:30 or 5 o'clock. Who helps that teacher to understand, who hasn't seen from a different perspective, well, this child doesn't get homework help from 3:30 to 5:30. This child's parent doesn't get home until 7 o'clock. Where's the cultural gap being closed? What can we do to bridge that? What can we do to bridge that? And because I've seen it from both sides, then I know the difference. I know the difference. I didn't just leave Dougherty County after 16 years and come to Worth County just because I could take 3 minutes to drive. I came because I know that this is where the need is. It's not because that school system is bigger that they're better. It's not that. It's just that there are other things that's in place that helps parents to understand, okay, this is what they're expected of. But if that parent is not getting home after 14 hours, then where is the gap? Where's the cultural gap? What's happening? Is that teacher stigmatizing a child? Because, oh, okay, this is what happens, she's not getting help. No, it's not that. And then when those children make those wrong decisions, discipline-wise, it's not because they're not being taught right at home. I was raised right, but I chose wrong. And we have to figure out where is the gap. My question is, how can we bridge that gap between the cultural imbalance, and not just, I don't mean a black and white thing, but where there's a cultural, social, economic situation. What is keeping that teacher not offering that part that's not taught in a classroom? And a lot of times that's what makes the difference. And the key word is relationship building. I can't get a child's respect, I can't get a parent's respect or engagement if I don't build a relationship first. And that is my question. Where can we close that gap?
So,
Go ahead.
as a congressional person, I take a first stab at it. What I'd like to do is to create some more of a, with the school system, but usually the state superintendent owns the school system, right? But I would like to create more of a space to where you guys are collectively trying to work with each other, your peers, so that you're sharing best practices. Because I was in, like Bleckley County, they supposedly have one of the best school systems in the state. But, and they even have other counties coming to their schools from other places. So I think that sometimes we can go and look at best practices in other places and figure out how they're bridging their gaps, especially like with Dougherty. You said that, you came from Dougherty and they're doing something right, so how do we bring that down to other places? But you have to have people that can act as a facilitator for that. And because I think a lot of times schools kind of work in their own silos, and they don't really, there may not be a lot of consultation with their peers. And so if we're creating a program like that to where our superintendents of our counties are coming and saying, hey, let's hash this particular cultural additive out, because we don't really talk about culture in schools. We talk about learning, that's it. So the cultural aspect is never really touched, because.
And with all due respect, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to be clear. I'm not saying Dougherty County is doing it right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
But they do it consistently because of starting at that ground, and it's not because they're better. Because
No, we're not saying anyone's better. We're just saying a collaborative atmosphere. So that, hey, I can learn this part from, and we can replicate that program over here. It's kind of like I was in Warner Robins the other day, and they have like this little startup Warner Robins for their minority business or their small businesses. So they act as an incubator, and they meet and create this conference for a week each year, just so they can support their small businesses. We can do the same thing here. And you can also learn from other cities and say, well, what are your best practices for getting a child, started out at 3 years old as opposed to 4? How do we bridge the Head Start gap? And a lot of that, of course, is funded, because remember, the Big Beautiful Bill ripped away Head Start. So I think a lot of this comes down to funding, but we also have to address, because we don't do this well, we don't address cultural inside of schools. And because I don't know why that's never been put on the forefront, but it's just something that we just really focus on learning. But I think if we can create some sort of collaborative atmosphere amongst the schools, especially in your district or even around your state, then we can learn from one another. And how are we improving our test scores? How are we improving reading?
So let me answer this. When is the last time y'all been to a school board meeting?
About a year ago.
About a year ago. I'm asking because I'm going to answer this question from a school announced active serving school board member and what I want to accomplish on the federal level. As a school board member now, the issue is that it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't see it, so they don't understand it. When I was growing up, you had teachers like Barbara Newkirk, You had teachers like that right there that cared about what happened in their child's class. My wife is a teacher. The lady that's asking me the question, that's my mom. She's an educator. So I'm saying that to say this, education is so important, but watch this. When you have teachers like my wife and Mom Brina back there that truly care, and not just the teacher, what about our crossing guards right here? People that see these children every day on a day-to-day basis. In order for us to bridge that gap, they have to see what it's like. My first year on the school board member asked me, Mr. Luca, how can you say blah, blah, blah when all of us had the same opportunity? No, we did not. There's no way you can tell a bootless man to strap up his boots. There's no way you can. They need to see what is going on. I'll say Tift County, for example. You know what Tift County does every year before school starts? They load all their teachers up on a bus and they take them to the hood. They take them to the projects. They let them see. My favorite thing is my favorite little story is because I ain't got a pencil. Y'all need to look that up. Because I ain't got a pencil. You upset fussing at a child because they ain't got no pencil, but you don't know they didn't eat last night. On a federal level, like Dr. Esther said, we have to create and cultivate programs that are just to us and our life. The worst thing they could have did, I don't care what nobody say, Black history is Black history. It should be taught in school. It should, because they need to know what happened. When we take it out of school, out of sight, out of mind. So now, my vote don't count. That's what the young folks saying. Why I got to vote? In order to bridge that gap, we don't like to shine the light on issues. We don't like to have everybody grown till it's time to have a conversation. Everybody want to be adult till it's time to talk. And so now what I'm saying is we've got to come up with a plan on the level that I'm trying to get to. Funding. Head Start Head Start is a very critical moment in a child's life. That's where you're gonna make or break them at right there in the advanced zone. We've got to ensure that our funding, how do we ensure our funding stays? We vote the right way.
Yes.
We get some of these Republicans out of office. That's how we do it.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Bro Tags Media. Bro Tags Media.